Hey everyone, welcome to another froggy setup in the gift journal for March. For March, I decided to do a St. Patrick's Day inspired frog setup for my friend. So I 3D printed this clover stencil and I'm going to be using ink to create a two-toned cloverleaf effect. And then I'm going to remove all the washi tape that was set up to protect the rest of the page. If you've seen a couple of the Plan With Me setup journals for the gift journal, my friend only wants a calendar as her cover page, which is why we always start with the calendar in the gift journal. Then we're going to be moving on to the habits/brain dump setup. Once again, removing the protective washi and trying not to rip up the page. And then each of the weeklies will get the same treatment in the decorative spot. My friend likes the same weekly for the entire month, so we went with a horizontal weekly for March. I do try to change the position of the decorative spot so that each of the weeklies doesn't feel like exactly the same thing. And it still gives her some visual interest on each of the weekly spreads. The hardest part about this particular setup was all of the washi tape, having to peel it up after. I was very concerned about ripping the journal paper, so I tried to go slowly. I tried to make sure that the washi was as flat against the paper as I could to lessen the strain. I still ended up with a couple of spots that the paper kind of pulled away a little bit, but I think it was relatively pain-free considering the amount of washi that I put down on all of the pages. Once I pull away all of the washi tape on this page, we can return to setting up. So we'll flip back to the calendar spread and get that done. The font I used for this theme is called Something on FontSpace. As with all the fonts that I use, I just try to mimic them as best as I can, but they usually turn out pretty alright. I'm doing a nice big calendar for my friend so that she can have lots of space for planning because she actually uses her calendars, unlike myself. So she always gets a nice big calendar. But with some finishing touches on our Leprechaun Frog, we're going to finish off filling in the font with one of my Ohuhu markers. And then very quickly I will add the days for March in the calendar. For the habit trackers, they are going to be the mini calendars for March. I'm not sure if she enjoys the mini calendars as much as I do, but when you're creating for someone, you kind of have to take some liberties. I'm going to do a big hat on the habit side and then another frog on the blank brain dump side. I hope everybody notices that each of the leprechaun frogs turned out just a little bit different than all the other ones. They all have their own little unique personality. I actually really liked the leprechaun frogs. I'm not a huge fan of frogs, but the leprechaun frogs are probably my favorite frogs in the whole journal. And because the weeklies are all the same, I have opted to do the full days of the week instead of a shortened version or just the initial. But the setup for each of the weeklies is essentially the same thing, so hopefully you guys don't get bored of seeing it too much. There may be some clever editing happening, but full weeks all round until the last couple of days of March. And then I make sure that she knows exactly where each of her days are, and that the first letter of each of the days gets nicely bolded. And then of course we need our Leprechaun Frogs, so we go in and we color those quickly with our color palette that we picked. And hopefully while we're coloring, you guys can see all their little personalities. We love a little squished frog. This one's just a little squishy, and his little top hat is a little shorter than everyone else's. To make sure that he stands out, he gets a little bit of some extra lining with my Pigma Micron. Each frog is colored with the Ohuhu markers in several different shades. Most of those will be listed in the description, but they include 7, 34, 48, 61, 72, 75, 97, 98, 116, and 129. Or at least those are all the markers that I used for this entire setup. Because consistency is key if you want your theme to feel like a theme. So repeated elements, using the same colors for your decorations, and generally the same font will give you an overall cohesive theme. And we finally made it to the last weekly of March in the gift journal. We're doing a very big frog on the last page for March because we needed to fit those extra 3 days. So that's March. Plan with me for the gift journal for the Leprechaun Frogs. I hope everybody has enjoyed this festive froggy trip, and I hope you guys feel inspired to try some new things. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.